Okay, so good day, ladies and gentlemen. So before we start our discussion for today, I would like first to introduce you to my group mates, Miss Adenig, Miss Bocal, Miss Pacalso, Miss Pascual, Mr. Rio, and yours truly, Mr. Nalupa. Okay, so we are done now discussing the different theoretical framework in ethics such as natural law, utilitarianism, justice and fairness, and the ontological rights theory. Let's go now to the application of this theoretical framework in which we refer to as applied ethics. So our group was tasked to report environmental ethics. So what is environmental ethics? So environmental ethics is a branch of applied ethics that studies the conceptual foundations of environmental values as well as more concrete issues surrounding societal attitudes, actions, and policies to protect and sustain biodiversity and ecological systems. So in simple terms, it is the ethical relationship between human beings with the natural environment. Although there have been numerous philosophies that have written on this topic throughout history, environmental ethics only developed into a specific philosophical discipline in the 1970s. So in the 1960s kasi, there have been effects on technology, industry, economic expansion, and population growth were having on the environment. So there have been publications to spread the issue. The philosophical works were done by Arne Richard Sylvan, Peter Singer, Holmes III, and many others. So let's go now to the specific terms which concerns this field.
Okay, so now let's move on to the anthropocentrism. So anthropocentrism literally means human-centered, but in its most relevant philosophical form, it is the ethical belief that humans alone possess intrinsic value. Thus, this implies that all other beings, just like the animals and the environment, hold value only in their ability to serve humans or in their instrumental values. So itong intrinsic value and instrumental value will be discussed by Ate Rina mamaya. Um, Ethical anthropocentrism is often a focus in environmental ethics discussions, which unpack our valuation of the natural world in an effort to determine paano ba dapat tayo manirahan o mabuhay dito sa ating mundo, anong mahalaga sa kalikasan at bakit natin ito pinapahalagahan. In this way, environmental ethics discussions are central to environmental policies and decision making. So when we talk about policies and decision making, we always consider the pros and cons, right? That's why we have anthropocentrism versus non-anthropocentrism. So the fundamental issue in environmental ethics is whether there can be a non-anthropocentric environmental ethic that is a basis for right and wrong action concerning the environment, which is not grounded solely in human concerns. So, hindi dapat nagiging center ang humans sa anumang ethics system na dinidevise natin. This is the issue of ethics. An ethical system could be non-anthropocentric in a number of ways. Any account of morality that has the effect of removing humans from being the sole thing of concern is non-anthropocentric. So, yun nga, yung anthropocentric, equal na lang sila lahat. So, as you can see here in the picture, yung dito sa anthropocentric, nasa taas yung human. But dito sa non-anthropocentric, hindi na sila nasa taas, but all equal na.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So in moral philosophy, instrumental And intrinsic value are the distinction between what is means to an end and what is an end itself. So we have here the two goods or the values, instrumental value and intrinsic value. So we have the first is for the instrumental value of ecosystems as merely means to an end and measured in monetary terms, good for some purpose. So we have an example here. I have an example. For example, fishing line has instrumental value. Just in case a person wants to catch a fish, and its value might diminish if a person gains access to a much more effective fishing net. Okay, so we have intrinsic value of ecosystems as an ends to themselves, represented as moral duties, good for its own sake. So for intrinsic value, the concept of this one reflects to the perspectives that nature has value in its own right, independent of human uses. So intrinsic value opens us to possibility that nature has value even if it does not directly or indirectly benefit humans. Intrinsic value is viewed from ecocentric standpoint.
So, proceeding on ecofeminism, the definition of ecofeminism is the philosophical and political movement that combines ecological concerns with feminists, one regarding both as resulting from male domination of society. It is also called as ecological feminism. It is first used in 1974 by Francois Dionne. It is the oppression of women and the natural world are twin oppressions stemming from the same cause. So it is the unjust and cruel exercise of authority or power. Next is emphasizes the ways both nature and women are treated by particular society. So patriarchy, it is the male gender bias wherein yung mga lalaki ang namumuno. So for example is the way women and nature have been conceived as inferior to male-based bias identified reason and culture. Dito nakikita yung prejudice against women.
So proceeding to the biodiversity, the variability among living organisms from all sources, including inter alia, terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems, and the ecological complexes of which they are a part. This includes diversity within its species and of ecosystems, or that's what you call Convention on Biodiversity (CBD). So, giving to you the definition, what is biodiversity? It means all the living matter around us. Yung nakikita natin lahat sa paligid natin, yun yung tinatawag na biodiversity. Yung nature, right? Natural resources. Yan. So when it comes to the ethical and moral value of the biodiversity, dito na papasok yung principle that humans should abide by to ensure the conservation of all forms of life around us. So kung mapapansin nyo, ma-ethical, di ba? So ethical means doon na nagkakaroon ng argument about sa biodiversity. Paano nila i-conserve yung biodiversity, ganon. So, sa ethical argument, dito yung sinasabi na there are millions of plants, animals, and microbes on this earth with whom we share. Kung saan tayo nakikip-share dito sa earth. And then, sabi daw nila na each species on this earth has some intrinsic values. So, ano nga ba ibig sabihin ng intrinsic values? So, yung intrinsic values, ito yung tunay na halaga ng bawat species na nakatira sa earth. So, yun nga. So, then, ano yung mga dapat nating gawin para ma-conserve or mapangalagaan yung biodiversity. So, therefore, our moral duty, 'di ba? Moral duty to take care of all the living, yes, creatures and pass on our biological legacy in good order to future generations. So, pag sinabi natin na moral duty, so ano nga ba yung moral duty? Ito yung yung obligation mo para gawin yung isang bagay sa paligid mo. Or ito yung responsibility mo as humans para ma-protect or pangalagaan yung biodiversity. Yun. So, thank you.
Let us talk about deep ecology. So as we can see here, deep ecology is an environmental philosophy and social movement. Na-discuss kanina sa anthropocentralism na it is human-centered. Dito naman sa deep ecology, it's ecocentrism or it is nature-based po siya. And according to Arnenis, he argued that humans should recognize the intrinsic value of all living beings, not just their instrumental value to humans. So it says here na everyone has a purpose. Mapa living creatures man yan, tao, hayop, or non-living creatures such as kunwari yung bato, may intrinsic value pa siya. What does it mean ba when we see intrinsic value? Ang sabi kasi kapag intrinsic value, innate na sa kanya na may value siya sa mundo na ito. And deep ecology recognizes that human actions have far-reaching consequences and that the Earth's resources are finite. It seeks to address these issues by promoting a radical transformation of society, including changes in economic, social, and political systems. So with this deep ecology, Arnenis have proposed 8 principles of deep ecology. These are the inherent value, diversity, vital needs, population, human interference, policy change, quality of life, and obligation of action. So basically, in summary of these principles, deep ecology shows that the idea that like every human being and other deep ecology shows that the idea that like every human being, all other living beings should have equal rights to live in this world. So in real life application, for example, may nakita kang aso na pagala-gala sa kalsada and may syempre, in deep ecology, iisipin mo na may value yung aso. So, ang iisipin mo sa aso ay ipupunta mo siya sa facility na kung saan ay aalagaan siya or ibabalik siya sa may amo if may dog tag siya, and kunwari. And it would, sorry about the noise, the dog would serve its purpose to magbantay ng bahay, to be a family ng isang and yeah. Okay, let's move on for the urban development. So the urban development covers infrastructure for education, health, justice, solid waste, market, street pavements, and cultural heritage protection. These construction usually form part of specific sector programs, including capacity building measures. So bakit nga ba importante ang urban development sa ating bansa? The importance of urban development provides universal access to political, economic, and social services and will definitely benefits us Filipinos. So, an example of urban development would be yung paggawa ng kalsada, yung improve ng sidewalk natin, yung as we can see yung sidewalk natin may parang yung yellow. I don't know what anong tawag doon? Basta yung yellow na it helps the blind people. And I think the another urban development is yung kapag every Sunday ay nakasara yung Session Road para may balance sa environment and sa parang urban development na nakaka-less ng pollution sa air and nakaka-ano rin cause ng less traffic sa Session Road kasi konti lang yung pwedeng masakyan ay pwede lang yung kotse na makapunta doon or may time na kung kailan pwede mag-drive yung mga tao doon sa Session Road. That would be all.
So moving on, urban decay defined as occupied sites related to commercial or industrial activity due to the nature of activities, manufacturing, production, storage, and similar commercial interests. They have a higher chance of polluting its vicinity site itself. So urban decay, it is a sociology process by which a previous functioning city or part of a city falls into despair. So ano nga ba yung causes nito? So first is yung widespread hunger and poverty. Siyempre, nandun na rin yung depopulation or overpopulation. Siyempre, pag yung mga tao naghahanap ng mas magandang opportunity, so lumilipat sila. Ganun. Next is yung mismanagement in incompetence ng government wherein hindi na nila kayang suportahan yung mga sinasakop nila. Ganun. Thank you.
Okay, so here, according to Baguio City Public Information Office, Mayor Menji Magalong expresses grave disappointment and dismay over Boyog Watershed, which is now down to 7 hectares from 19 hectares. And this is really disturbing. And according to Baguio City Public Information Office as well, Mayor Benji Magalong ordered the Baguio City Police to conduct round-the-clock over Bosol and Buyog watershed to ensure that no new structures will be built. And also, they are having a demolition. So there will be para wala nang mapatayo. Imagine 12 hectares yung nawala. So why is that watershed is important? It helps to prevent floods, landslides, and it stores water for domestic, agricultural, industrial, and other productive uses. That's why this watershed is very important, and yes, we are hoping na hindi magtuloy-tuloy to and maprotektahan natin ito. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so in our example, so sa sariling city mismo natin yun. So specifically in the Buyog and Bosol watershed. So we can see the effects of urban decay, but it is not only evident in that specific area, it can also be seen in the different parts of the city. So the development is not wrong, but we also have to consider the conditions that has been affecting our environment on how we are going to protect it as well. So yun. So this topic is also aligned with the initial discussion of Sir, environmental stewardship. So we have to be responsible in the use and protection of the natural environment through the conservation and sustainable practices to enhance ecosystem resilience and human well-being. So the government should be strict in implementing environmental laws and ordinances. And in return, the residents or the people as well should be abiding it. So in a nutshell, environmental ethics believes that humans are a part of the society, and it is very important that every human being will respect and honor the environment through the use of moral and ethics. So if you have any questions, please type at the Padlet. So thank you, everyone.